Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who is only 1,003 yards away from surpassing Mike Evans for most yards this season. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm a long way from Mike Evans for a career. I don't think I'll ever have 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Hot take.
Yeah, I don't know, Kyle. Don't be so hard on yourself. We don't know how this could go.
Yeah, I could play till I'm 40. That's fine.
Do you ever have this irrational, like, I feel like for sports I never played, like, I don't know, like rugby or something. I'm like, what if I was like an elite rugby player, but I just never knew it because I never played it?
So I played pickleball for the first time ever today.
Okay.
And I was like with my family who aren't, it's not exactly the cream of the crop athletes. And I did pretty well.
Hopefully they don't listen to the show.
They're fine. I played that and I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. I don't think the sport's very hard. But then I'm sure like if I played like competitive pickleball, I'd get wrecked. But it was fun. Whatever.
Okay. Well, we started the show off with competitive pickleball. Kyle, there's a lot of intrigue. I'm very excited for the playoffs. I'm going to be honest. Maybe an underwhelming week 18.
A weird week 18. There was a point during the 1 p.m. slate, the first game slate, depending on your time zone, where it just seemed like every hilarious result was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, there's no way this is all going to happen the way that it is. And then everything almost corrected itself. I think Atlanta was the only holdout that didn't do what they were supposed to do. So it didn't even matter because it didn't matter because Tampa won first anyways. But very hilarious morning slate. And then a bit of a snoozer. I think you could have taken today off. This is the unfortunate thing about this week 18 was that, outside of a couple seedings, like it was really only one playoff spot up for grabs and then Sunday night.
Yeah, like there were technically two, but one was playing the Chiefs backups, so that made it tough. Kyle, I did take 15 minutes during the afternoon slate to clean my pool. I was locked in other than that, but I did do that.
That's probably a good time. I was washing the cars. I did it yesterday because I was so disgusted with my soccer team's performance. So I didn't have any work to do today, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see. What happens. Kyle, let's get into the show. I think we're probably gonna spend a decent amount of time on some of these games and then plow through some of the other games. I will mention at the top of the show two things. For one, as you see in the title, we are also giving out our awards this week. So that means we're giving out all of the major awards like Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and of course, the On the Sideline All-Pro list. Kyle and I each have All-Pros, so it's always a fun time to be doing that. So you want to stay tuned to the end of the show to check that out. Or if you're watching after the fact, just skip ahead, look at the banners on the bottom of the screen, and use that to skip ahead. I will also mention next week, we're doing a preview show. As usual, we're still doing 2 days a week, but we're going to do it on Thursday this week instead of Wednesday. So be on the lookout for us Thursday instead of Wednesday. It'll still be the regular time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah. All that sound good, Kyle?
Yeah, all sounds good to me. Let's get into it, man.
All right. So, the Lions-Vikings, this was a game that it was close for a while. Like, the final score makes it look like this was, Lions really took it to them. But early on, the story was kind of the Vikings just being unable to convert into red zone. I mean, they had multiple fourth down stops in the red zone. They also had a field goal, not just in the red zone, but I mean, inside the 10. They had 3 drives there, only got 3 points on those. The second half, though, was all Detroit Lions. And to me, I think the story of this game is what this Lions coaching staff has done with this team. I mean, the offense is the offense. It's great across the board. Jared Goff's playing unreal. Some of the plays, I mean, you can't turn the ball over there, but like some of the plays he makes to like get out of pressure by throwing the ball quickly is just unbelievable. Obviously Ben Johnson, but like Aaron Glenn has to be getting head coaching looks, right? Like, how I feel about defensive head coaches, but like if you're going to give a defensive guy a head coaching job, he should be at the top of the list.
Yeah. For all the reasons we give Ben Johnson credit, Aaron Glenn does deserve a ton of credit because I don't know if any defensive coordinator has overcome as much adversity as he has in scheming this team. I know they got Anzalone back these last couple of weeks, but they've been missing guys in and out all season. Basically, everyone besides their safeties has been hurt at some point. And they managed to still put together really good defensive performances. And, we're going to talk about the Sam Darnold thing here in a second, but this was a really good defensive performance. You know, the part of the problem with Sam Darnold in this game was, yes, he missed a few throws, but there also wasn't a lot of guys open throughout this game. I thought he did a lot. They did a really good job of covering downfield, sticking with these receivers who had gotten open and did a terrific job all season. And they did a fantastic job. So huge credit to the Lions defense, Aaron Glenn, and the scheme they brought up today.
Yeah, they did have a couple more injuries here. Terran Arnold left early on, and then late, I didn't see how bad it was, but kind of in garbage time, they were keeping their starters in. Kevin Zeitler had an injury, which that's a big one because he's been he might be an All-Pro at the guard position. So the injuries keep stacking up, but like it doesn't affect him.
No, they just keep plugging and playing. It's really remarkable. And I think we talked about the coaching staff, and we've mentioned Dan Campbell a lot in this podcast, but at the same time, it does feel like, as much as it's not quantifiable to say, it does feel like a whole lot of the coaching and the setting the tone for the organization is that it feels like a next man up mentality. It feels like every time someone goes down, the next Lions player is just able to step up and be good. And they're filling their roles, they're doing their jobs, and it's a really, really well-run organization right now, which is not something we would say about Detroit 2-3 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And then 2-3 years ago, and then for the 50-year chunk prior to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. Is like, this is Detroit we're talking about. This isn't like a Patriots situation for 20 years where we're watching this. This is the team that over 2 or 3 years, I mean, it's capped off now with the 1 seed in the NFC this season. I don't know if they'll make the Super Bowl. I don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl. They still have a lot of injuries to overcome for these big playoff games. But the fact that they have done this in this short amount of time, what Dan Campbell's done with this team, what Dan Campbell's done with this franchise, that was the laughingstock of the NFL for so many years. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment, and I hope it gets the recognition it deserves for what he's done.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. So we can move on. I mean, I'm very excited to see how these two teams do. And well, we have to do the Viking stuff. We didn't talk about them. I mean, there's no getting around it. Sam Darnold played very poor in this game. He was missing Justin. He had a situation where he missed Justin Jefferson on a 4th down and goal. So then they Lions got the ball deep in their own territory. Goff turns the ball over. So now they get another opportunity. They get inside. It's 1st and goal, and then Darnold just misses Jefferson 3 straight plays, and now it's 4th and goal, and they kick a field goal. I mean, he had some bad plays in this one. The blitz really got to him, and I was looking at his numbers. His numbers are, he is one of those quarterbacks who's better when he's not blitzed. When you let him just sit back there and play, he does really well. When you blitz him, it can be effective. His passer rating went, so that's an issue.
Yeah, no, he definitely struggled in this game. I mean, it wasn't even just that the throws were off. They were like way off. Like there was a lot of throws that missed by several yards, and there were more opportunities than I think they had. I think it was also very tough. Like I think again, Detroit just covered really well. So that played a part in it too. But yeah, he really struggled hitting some open receivers. You thought he was Joy Taylor back there networking the amount of times he got hit in this game. And yeah, it was a really tough performance for Minnesota. And I think if you had any concerns about Sam Darnold heading into the playoffs, you did not want to see this game. Even though, you're still the 5 seed, you're still a 14-win team. I expect him to bounce back based on what we've seen this season. But that's definitely not the way you wanted to cap off this amazing year.
I think I'm just going to step right over that one, Kyle, and go back to the football. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing when there's so much talk about what Darnold does, and we're all talking about you got to keep Darnold. It's not even a question. The last thing you want is for him to struggle down the stretch, and then now you have the question. The Vikings will play the Rams. They go on the road to play the Rams. The 14-win Vikings now have to probably win 3 road games to get in. But hey, Nick, it's not the end of the world either. Realistically, what's probably going to happen, or at least there's a good chance of what happens, is that we have a rematch of this in the divisional round.
Yeah, I think there's a chance of it for sure. And I'd be interested to see what the adjustments look like a few weeks from now. Because like you said, I do think the big thing was like in the first half, they had opportunities and they kind of failed, right? They had opportunities. They were 0-3 in the red zone in that spot. They had some 4th down misses too in the red zone. Like that stuff can be adjusted. This game was more competitive early on. It got away from them in the end, obviously. Detroit put its will on them, and, Jahmyr Gibbs kind of wore them down. So if they can get away from that part where it's not to the point where they can just run Jahmyr Gibbs and, run the defense out of energy, they got a shot, but they have to adjust to this coverage and the blitz schemes, like you said.
Yeah, we will have more to talk about with these two teams when we get into it, as both them, not dead yet, but want to win for Detroit Lions. Let's move on. Let's go to, I don't think this is too early for my team here, right, Kyle? I think the Buccaneers were kind of the second team to talk. I mean, this was a wild game. For a while, this looked like it wasn't going to happen. The Saints had a 10-point lead at the half and still had to lead in the fourth quarter. The Buccaneers end up really... There was this crazy sequence in the fourth quarter where it's 4th down and 8. Tampa Bay decides to go for it. They hit Jalen McMillan on a great throw from Baker Mayfield. They're able to get the ball inside of 10. Jalen McMillan does the dreaded mimicking a weapon celebration. So therefore, they get bumped back 15 yards. They didn't have a holding penalty immediately after. And then Baker hits Jalen McMillan on a great catch in the end zone. The Buccaneers ultimately take the lead. But they get a Bucky Irving touchdown late to kind of ice it. But you're like, Mike Evans is 5 yards away from the 1,000 yards. Can you really just sit here and not give it to him? Well, they decide to, instead of kneeling it down, they give him one more pass. It was the loudest cheer from the crowd of the day, was the Mike Evans 1,000 yards streak continuing, which has been a fun streak for 11 years now. Kyle, this was a wild game.
Yeah, absolutely wild game. It was great to see that streak. It was so fun to see them celebrate that. Second best celebration of the weekend behind the Michael Pierce interception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And no, I mean, it looked like it was going to be a complete disaster for Tampa there for a second, and especially with Atlanta going back and forth with Carolina in that last one. In that game at the same time, I mean, looking at both of those games side by side, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And I can't believe Spencer Rattler's about to do this. And then Tampa kind of corrected themselves in the second half. It was still close a little bit in the end, closer than you wanted it, but they got the job done. They got Mike Evans his yards, and you got out of there. You're in the playoffs. You're the 3 seed now because of Los Angeles losing. So I think it's a successful season.
Yeah, this week was one of those, like, it's weird how I feel like for the first 17 weeks every year, we're like, hey, football's weird, things get weird, and also divisional matchups add even more weirdness to it. So any given Sunday, especially if it's a divisional matchup, and then week 18, all of a sudden, like, every favored team is favored by like 15 points against these. Like, it's like, you always have to remember, like, football it's not that simple. The Saints were trying to win this game and definitely put in an effort. I mean, it wasn't the most optimistic performance, but I would say, like, Todd Bowles did make some real adjustments defensively in the second half. It was, you look at the offense and you think, or you look at the score in the first half and think, wow, it's just 6 points by Tampa Bay. They only had 3 possessions. The Saints had so many long drives. Bowles eventually said, you know what? I'm giving you up 5 yards every play. Beat us downfield. We have to beat us downfield. And Rattler wasn't able to do that, even though he had a pretty good first half.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern for Tampa. Like you said, they made the adjustments. They did what they had to do to win this game. And it was a good performance again for the offense. Like, I think Baker Mayfield played better than his numbers would suggest. I think the passing game did well. Bucky Irving made some big plays, all that kind of stuff. The offense is really good. And I like that for Tampa going into playoffs. We've seen this defense, some injury related and some just, not playing as well related, kind of unravel, I think, to end this season. And yeah, they ended up making the adjustment to, like you said, the Saints have to beat us downfield. They have to create big plays. They didn't have their receivers. They didn't have their quarterback. They didn't have their star running back. Beat us downfield over the top. They weren't able to do that. The toughest thing with the way the matchups broke is you got the best quarterback in the NFC now coming to your house round 1. You got Jaden Daniels coming to your house. You can't give him the downfield pass because he can hit those basically all day. He's one of the best downfield passers in the league. He can run. Going to be able to evade any blitzes that Todd Bowles schemes up. And that's my concern going into round 1 as we're looking ahead, projecting those matchups, is I kind of think you would want to play Green Bay round 1 just because of the way this offense is set up. Like, I just think this defense will avoid any great quarterback, and Jaden Daniels is very much a great quarterback this season.
I mean, I think the defense has struggled all year, quite frankly. I was back and forth on it. I think the Packers have the Packers are in such a weird spot. We'll get to them when we get to them. But I'm maybe I do think the flip side is, I mean, the Commanders' defense has not exactly been lighting the world on fire this season either, and I think the Buccaneers at least do stop the run well, and they held Terry McLaurin to just 2 catches for 17 yards the first time they played. So I think that I actually like the matchup against Washington. I'm not sure how it will go, but Tampa Bay, hey, they're 3-point favorites in the first round. So very rare for us to be favorites recently. We usually been underdogs week 1, so this is a new feeling.
Yeah. So I mean, there's still reason for optimism. Like I said, I think this was a successful season, but that's going to be very tough. It's not going to be the same Jaden Daniels we saw week 1 of this season. So it's a very long rematch. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of the most entertaining games of the first round, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a Sunday night game, and it's a Sunday night game purely due to entertainment, right? Because it's not like these are two massive, franchises. It's the entertainment.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Washington's a pretty big one, but hasn't been here in a while. They're looking forward to it.
But neither is Dallas. Is all my point is. But
yeah.
No, a fun win for me. Kyle, let's move on. Let's go to do the other side of the coin here. Let's do the Panthers Falcons, where there was a point when Kyle, I don't want to tell you my the text exchanges that I had with my brother during the halftime of the Buccaneers Saints game. I mean, it was not vibes were not high at that point. I think every single Buccaneers fan wanted Todd Bowles fired at that point. You're a liar if you did not text whoever you text during games that you wanted Todd Bowles fired at halftime. So I turned my attention to this game, which was a incredible game. Unfortunately, once we got to overtime, we knew what was going to happen. But both these quarterbacks were really good. Michael Penix, his receivers keep screwing him over. He's had 3 interceptions this season. One was a receiver running a wrong route. The other 2 were just receivers like having to pass in their hands and just like chucking it right to a defender. That happened again in this game. But yeah, I mean, this was Bijan Robinson was amazing. This was a very entertaining game.
Yeah. Looked like Panthers were going to run away with it at one point. Bryce Young was throwing touchdowns and like spinning around like he was Steph Curry shooting a heat check 3. I mean, it was just a wild thing. Bryce Young was amazing in this game. That was the story for me, honestly. But yeah, and then it was just like Bijan Robinson and Drake London were like, we're going to win this game. We're going to bring it back. We're going to try and get to the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. But still, Carolina traded blows with them every time. They did what they had to do, went down and scored in overtime. Great win for Carolina. Great win for Carolina's offense, which has come to life the second half of the season. I think this ended up being a very fun season for Carolina in a lot of ways, even though, you want to win more than 5 games eventually. You have something with Bryce Young. You have something with the offense. There's something to build on here. You got a long way to go on defense, but fun season nonetheless. And then Atlanta, yeah, I mean, you fell short this season. Very difficult times. I guess the one thing you could say is like Michael Penix in this game looked like a franchise guy, so you give him that chance. We'll see.
Yeah, we can give the credit to the Panthers first. Is this the most impressive 5-win season of all time?
I think the turnaround mid-season was really impressive. Like,
yeah,
that was the thing. It couldn't have gotten any lower from where they started, where they were getting beat by 40 like their first 3 weeks. But from where it started to where it ended, I think that is a huge in-season adjustment, honestly.
Yeah. Part of why this game was so entertaining and why these quarterbacks look so good is neither team can play defense here. The Panthers defense has struggled all year. Falcons defense has struggled all year, to be honest. As happy as I am as a Tampa Bay fan, the reality is if Younghoe Koo stays healthy, the Falcons might end up as might end up still winning this division. It just felt like they made as many mistakes as they possibly could have to miss the playoffs this year. Atlanta did, right? Like it just felt like if they had, I feel like Atlanta has enough talent to be a playoff team, and they weren't able to get it done. And you have to blame a lot of that on coaching. I think you have to blame a lot of that on the waiting too long to make the move off of Kirk Cousins, because you see Penix does look really good. But like you said, the good news is putting too many resources into the quarterback position is not the worst thing you can do, because it does look like they have a good player, although they're going to have to pay Cousins a lot of money next year, probably to not play for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to have to make a change there, obviously, but it does look like they have a good player. So I guess you could say, like, as long as you have the guy, it doesn't really matter. But you do need a lot of help to this defense, man. Like, I think Caden Ellis had a terrific year. I thought he was really good. I think Jesse Bates still had a terrific year. But I think the rest of the guys, like, how long can you continue to ask Grady Jarrett to be a really impactful player? You had no pass rush this season. You had Just taking a look, you had no quarterback hits and no sacks in this game. Like that just can't happen. Like,
Mhm.
it's very hard to cover. It's hard to say like, is AJ Terrell not like performing to his standard? I don't think he is, but at the same time, you can't cover forever, man. Like you just had too many issues. I felt like with this defense, and it came back to bite him. It really did.
Hey, Patriots won the Matthew Judon trade.
That we did. He looked washed up really quickly.
Yeah, that did not work out too well for the Falcons. So we'll talk about these two teams when we get to the offseason. But yeah, a bitter end for the Falcons, but a fun win and a fun game in this one. So yeah, so where do we go next? Let's finish up the playoff hopefuls. Let's start with Bengals Steelers, who we knew was going to be we knew the Bengals were on the outside looking in. Ultimately, Kyle, I mean, that week one game, Bengals Patriots, where you said if the Bengals lose, you would dye your hair. You did dye your hair. That game kind of decided a lot. It decided the Patriots ending up not getting the first overall pick, and it decided the Bengals missing the playoffs. I'm sure you would have really rather had that go the other way, get the first overall pick, and get Burrow into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is funny to kind of look back on that. But yeah, I mean, this team, it was 1 week too late for them. I kept saying like, I think this may be one of the 4 best teams in the AFC if they turn it on. They won their last 5 games, but it was just too little too late. They had that close loss to Pittsburgh. I mean, every loss this season felt like a close loss, except for the Eagles game. You could look back on that Patriots game for sure, because obviously that was the worst team that they lost. But they should have beat the Chiefs. They could have beat the Commanders. They could have beat the Ravens twice. They could have beat the Steelers. Like, they could have beat the Chargers. I mean, there's another universe where this team's like 13-4. I mean, there really is. Like, that's just kind of how this season went for them. And they ended up on the right side of this one. It was a bit of a struggle. Like, I don't think Joe Burrow played his best game, even though I don't think, he was still really good for me. And it's an unfortunate season because, like, yeah, you don't really want to waste opportunities for Joe Burrow to have a chance at the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Because, like, how many times have we seen the hot quarterback go on a run and win a Super Bowl? We saw it with Matthew Stafford. We saw it with Eli Manning. And there's no doubt, like, I think Joe Burrow was one of the best throwers of the football this season. You want that guy in the playoffs just because it doesn't matter if you're 9-8, 10-7. If you're in the playoffs, he's giving you a chance to win.
Yeah. Kyle, I ended up accidentally nailing the take of Joe Burrow MVP and the Bengals missing the playoffs. That was I did all right there.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
Yeah.
So just a wild season. They're going to have to reevaluate this defense that did play better to end the season, but I do think they need a few more pieces. You got to figure out this T. Higgins thing now, and going to try and run it back next year. We'll see.
Yeah, I think if they're letting T. Higgins go, I just think it's a mistake. The strength of this team is Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Like, those 3 guys, if you're letting one of those walk, like, what are we even doing here? I mean, there's so many other issues. I get the logic of, like, do we do what the Chiefs did and what the Bills did of get rid of him and use the resources on defense? Okay, there's some logic there. But, like, I mean, at the end of the day, we can sit here and say how good this team is. They have to win games. And, like, this is a team that, they lost 8 games this year. They were 9-8. Like, that's not a playoff record. So, sure, they lost plenty of close games. They could have found ways to win. They also got a big break in the Cowboys game, right? They should have lost that game. Like, it goes both ways. So, I don't know. Like, we'll get into it with Denver, but I'm not mad to see the Broncos in instead of the Bengals this season.
I'm not mad about it. Denver definitely deserved it this season. I just think, if you're going to say, like, just power rank the teams, I would still say Cincinnati's probably a better team. They just didn't win the games this season. So, but it all is about your record. This isn't college football. We're not doing it on style points. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the record was at the end of the day. So, or it doesn't matter what the resume is at the end of the day. So, interesting season for Cincinnati. I agree with you. They probably should pay Higgins, but like with this franchise and the way they like to not spend money, I just wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, we'll see. There's a long off season ahead to talk about Cincinnati and what they do.
Yeah, got to start drafting better, I think, is really what it immediately comes down to. The Pittsburgh Steelers might stink, Kyle.
Man, code red, right? Like, this has just become a complete disaster. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to evaluate this anymore. Like, the offense is just putrid all of a sudden. And not that it was like burning any bridges or anything like that. It was a really good, they had some productive games, but it was a tough end to the season schedule-wise. Like, this definitely isn't the way you want to end your season with the Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. But at the same time, like, man, you wanted to see this team put its best foot forward against the best teams, and they laid a couple duds. I mean, this was their closest game, and I don't know. I kind of watched the game and thought Cincinnati was better the entire time, and this game could have been a bigger score than what it was, honestly.
It was kind of one of those crazy games where it's like all of a sudden it's the fourth quarter, the Steelers score a touchdown, and now they're like completely in the game. It's like, what just happened here? I thought this was a blowout.
Steelers love winning games that way. That's the funny thing.
Sure. I thought they were going to do it again once they had the muff punt, but
yeah, they love winning games this way for sure. But at the same time, that they want to. They were supposed to be the better team in this game is the issue, and they just didn't look it at all.
We keep talking about this, college level defense the Bengals have. The Steelers had 3.3 yards per play in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously part of that is the George Pickens stuff, which, I mean, him and Wilson had Pickens down the field. Like, if they connect on that play, then they win the game. So they needed just one of those plays. So we'll see what happens. They're Steelers voodoo magic. They tend to do well in divisional games. They have a divisional matchup in the playoffs against the Ravens. But, it's hard to bet on this team right now.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic. They're not playing their best ball. I don't really see what gets better between the last time they played Baltimore and now. But, it is kind of the crazy team that, like, they're going to make a few high-impact defensive and special teams plays, and that can swing a game that you probably shouldn't win.
Yeah, I feel like it's the meme that I would use with the Steelers is like the Scooby-Doo meme where you reveal the mask, but like it's the Steelers and you reveal the mask and it's just the Steelers again.
Yeah, same team.
Yeah.
They're just back to they're back to being the cart girl, and they teased us again
Right.
this season.
Yes.
It's like, oh wait, we have a chance with the cart girl. It's happening. It's come full circle. The metaphor has come full circle because they teased us again that we have a shot with the cart girl. And then all of a sudden, nope, the cart girl, is on Instagram with 4 dudes around her feeding her grapes or something like that. It's not happening.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see if the Steelers can get with the cart girl this Saturday night, which I don't care how bad the Steelers look. That's just a great playoff game. The Steelers-Ravens. We get Steelers-Ravens in the playoffs. Like, sign me up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is quintessential AFC North football for the playoffs. I love it.
Yeah, it's the schedule of the Chargers Texans, which is the most Saturday afternoon game of all time, and then Steelers Ravens. That's going to be fun. Let's go to the team that made the playoffs, Chiefs Broncos. Which it's weird with these backup situations where sometimes, like with the Rams, the backups come in and look all right, and then sometimes it's just like it's a situation like this where they're just like it's completely incompetent. The Broncos win 38-0. Bo Nix's stats are like amazing in this game. He's 26 for 29, 321 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He also led the team in rushing. I did think he played well too. I mean, I know it's the backups, but like, hey, that's still good. As a whole, though, this was a game that like 5 minutes in, it was like, oh, we're not getting anything competitive. Like, I can go clean the pool for 15 minutes. Like, this is like, none of these. The Dolphins game doesn't matter. Like, nothing matters in the late slate.
Yeah, I mean, look, Broncos put themselves in this position where they had the opportunity to control their destiny. They deserved it. Mm-hmm. I give them a ton of credit for that. They had a terrific season, so I'm not like mad about it. But yeah, this wasn't a competitive game. They did well. They did what they had to do. They're in the playoffs. Yeah, and they should have gone in here and kicked butt, basically, at this point.
Yeah, I really have like very little to say about this. I mean, let's talk about the whole season for the Broncos. A great season, right? We were talking about if they lost this game, like, and they missed the playoffs, how bad it would be. They did kind of stumble in a little bit, but you know what? It's going to be tough to make the playoffs. The wins they were able to get, they do have some impressive like games. Like they should have beaten the Chiefs. So I don't know what they're going to do against Buffalo. I'm not betting on them to beat Buffalo, but like for a team that I think I predicted them to be the worst team in football. What a step up.
Yeah. No, I mean, they really, this was a Sean Payton masterclass. I mean, this was a huge development thing. I mean, I continue to look at the talent in this offense and be like, how is this happening? Like, Marvin Mims has put together a really nice second half of the season. Courtland Sutton's been a nice piece, all that kind of stuff. But this does not look like the offense of a playoff team. And the fact that they're this far ahead, I mean, it's a real promising sign. I mean, we'll see what it is to come with Bo Nix, how he develops, that kind of thing. But it's been a standout rookie season for him. He's blown me away. And it's only going to get better, I feel like, for him and the team potentially if they can add more pieces.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more when we get into the preview. Again, some of these games we might not spend forever on just because, like, some of the games itself I don't really care about. Like, we'll do Dolphins Jets just to round out the teams that were fighting for the playoffs. Kyle, Aaron Rodgers, the big game. They were the broadcast for the last, like, the fourth quarter of this game was like, I don't know if it was just like a very pro Aaron Rodgers broadcast or what, but it was all about how Rodgers was great, how it's not Rodgers' fault, and how I bet other teams are going to be calling for Aaron Rodgers now due to this game. So a big, huge stock jump for Aaron Rodgers here.
Yeah. Nobody has loved Aaron Rodgers this much probably in his entire life, honestly. So
right.
really good spot for him. He was feeling the love. Do you think he plays next season? And if you were to guess yes, who would you guess he plays for?
The thing is, I can't think of a single team that, like, okay, teams do dumb things all the time that I don't understand. So, like, could a team do that? Sure. But I legitimately don't see a scenario that he would want to go to that would also say, yes, sign me up. I think the Jets are probably his only option.
Yeah, potentially. If Sam Darnold has another bad game, is the Vikings back on?
like no, it's just like, again, I said it last week. Like, there's 3 quarterbacks on that roster they'd rather have than Aaron Rodgers. I think they would rather Daniel Jones because at least you don't get the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's a weird situation. I'm done talking about the Jets. Their season's over. Yeah. I'm glad it ended. Good job, Aaron Rodgers. 4 touchdowns in your last game. Are the Dolphins done? Like, is this over with this group? This era?
Well, they have. I mean, I think so. I think we're going to see major changes. I think Tua has to come back. And to be honest, I think Tua, when he was healthy, played well. Now, I guess, but the issue is, like, again, he's one of those, like, I think you coined it, where it's like there's some players who are their name when healthy. Like, he's Tua when healthy because he's always injured. So, like, that's the issue. I mean, his contract is what it is. He's not going anywhere this year. It would be an $83 million cap hit. They're going to $44 million in dead cap. Even if they get rid of him, they're going to keep him for this year, which I think is probably the right move. But yeah, I think Hill said after the game, kind of said he wants to be gone. Like, okay, that's probably the right move. Like, let's retool this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had what? I mean, he had like 3,500 receiving yards or something. Or no, sorry, can't do math. Yeah, 3,500 receiving yards his first 2 seasons with the Dolphins, and then sub 1,000 this season. So it was a huge step back. He was dealing with injuries all year. Obviously, the quarterback situation is what it is. Yeah, I mean, look, like, I think the way Tua played, I think the way like Jalen Waddle is another guy when he's healthy is pretty good. Devin Achane obviously had a really terrific season when he played. Like, you could still have a pretty good offense with that group. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Tyreek Hill gone, how they retool this thing and how they run it back.
You know what they need to do? Get a free agent quarterback. Don't do this. Hey, we don't need to worry about free. Like, why are they the team that has an injury prone quarterback is also the team that's, like, never paying attention to quarterback stuff? I don't like Jacoby Brissett's a free agent. Sign Jacoby Brissett. Like, that should be step one.
It was not the best Jacoby Brissett season for that.
Sure, but again, compared to the other Marcus Mariota, get him.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's available.
Zach Wilson, Andy Dalton's available. Yes, there's guys. Don't do this. Mac Jones,
Justin
maybe?
Fields.
Yeah,
Justin
there
Fields.
You go. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'd be okay with what's his name, Marcus Mariota. I think that's the right move. Go get Marcus Mariota. That's your move.
Who's the top backup quarterback? Get that guy. Like, that should be step one in this. They make the playoffs with good backup quarterback play this year.
Probably. Tyler Huntley was not good enough.
Right, and he joined midway through the season because he was like their better option. That's the biggest issue. Yeah, they got their. I mean, it's the thing that I always say. Everyone gets mad at me and calls me a Tua hater when I get mad at the contract, and then the teams 2 years later are inept. Like, this happens every year.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is what it is. I thought he played well this season, like you said, but he's always going to have these issues for sure.
Yeah. That's the issue. It was in run up. Kirk Cousins said to the Giants, but what about Cousins to the Dolphins as the backup?
No, I don't know if he's signing up for that. Daniel Jones to the Dolphins as a backup?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the reality is just get a good backup quarterback. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. Prioritize that, get a receiver, figure it out from there.
Yeah. Kyle, I made you wait too long for this. Your team got to win. Bet you're pumped up. New England Patriots. Joe Milton, is he the future now? Quarterback controversy in New England. Kyle, how pumped up are you to see your team win a football game?
It was pretty ironic. The one time I said I'm willing to cheer for the Patriots to lose, they go and win a game.
Yeah.
Joe Milton looked really good.
Yeah, he did.
Granted, it was not all the Bill starters, so take it all with a grain of salt. But he threw the ball really well. He looked more accurate in this game than he ever did in college, honestly. So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the Patriots have 2 quarterbacks for next season. Good backup, or they trade them. We'll see. But no, it was a good performance. Pretty funny that the coach is getting fired right after this, and I mean it's a weird situation overall because they said earlier in the week that Drake May was going to play, and they're prioritizing the win, and all of a sudden it's Joe Milton playing. So I wonder if it's like a ownership thing to make that call or what. And then still Gerard Mayo's not back for next season, so I don't know what to think of it all, man. This team is got a busy offseason ahead of it. They have $130 million in cap space. They're projected the most cap space in the NFL this offseason. They're still going to have a top 4 pick. They're still probably going to get one of their top 2 prospects in this draft. So there's that. However, the issue is you need a lot of new players, man. Like just straight up. Like I think, the quarterback is set with Drake May. You have Christian Barmore. You have Christian Gonzalez. I still like Michael Onyenwu. And I mean, I even like some of these secondary pass catchers. I've talked about it. Keishon Butte ended up having a really nice day and a nice, season as a secondary receiver. Demario Douglas as a slot guy, stuff like that. Hunter Henry even as a tight end. But you're still a long way from being a really competitive team until you get elite talent, because there's just not a lot of elite guys on this team. There's maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah. I agree. At the end of the day, depth players are helpful, but you need stars. They need to hit on some of these top picks. It's the Gerard Mayo thing was interesting because firing him is one thing. Firing him like immediately after the game was a bit of like to the point where there was such a long typed out the document of like when Robert Kraft it's announcing the firing that I'm like, I don't think he could have typed this like from the time the game ended to now. I think he probably had to type it at least during the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions I have about that situation. There was a lot of talk about him going behind the back of Bill Belichick to make Gerard Mayo the successor and put that plan in motion. And then I didn't think he was going to get fired because I didn't think he wanted to admit he made a mistake 1 year in. But that's going to be the first priority, is obviously hiring the coach, how that goes. There's already a lot of rumors about that. And then it's going to be a whole lot of we'll see from there. So, like I said, busy offseason ahead. But I think the most important thing is you realize you got a good quarterback. That's the first thing. But now you got to build around him because he's a cheap contract now as a rookie, and you got to make it happen.
Yeah. We'll see what goes. I got a lot of money to spend. Is your dream free agent T. Higgins?
T. Higgins and I would like both T. Higgins and Trey Smith if we could, but obviously those are the top 2 free agents on the market, so everybody's going to want them, but we have the money to spend. Like if we can get those 2 guys, like that fixes a lot of problems very quickly.
I gotta figure out who's the receiver that they're gonna get. I nailed this last year with the KJ Osborne. Are we gonna get Marquise Brown's a free agent? That's a good one.
Let me see. We're definitely getting. We may not end up with T. Higgins, but we're gonna end up with
Collins. Matt Collins is absolutely a Patriot.
I was actually thinking of your guy. I was thinking
Godwin.
I think this could be a Godwin thing. Like you've got the young players now in the building. He's coming off an injury. That feels like a Patriots. We're going to buy him for like 50% of his value perceived, and then he's just not good anymore because he got hurt. That's probably going to happen.
Right. Yeah, that I could see. That would make sense. We'll see what the Patriots do this offseason. Let's move on. Let's go to I guess Seahawks Rams. We can just talk about this real quick. It was a weird situation where we talked about on the preview show. I was assuming the Rams were going to play their starters, win this game, and get the 3 seed. They elect to kind of wave the white flag, take the 4 seed, and they're okay with playing now. The Vikings will be their first round matchup instead of Minnesota. Kind of feel like that's a mistake. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo and the backups nearly won this game, so it almost was the dream scenario of you rest your backups and still get the win. But ultimately, they lose, and I don't know if I love this decision by the Rams.
I don't know either, man. Like, why would you want to play a 14-win team no matter who it was? You didn't even know the matchup, and you're just content with it. Like, I would rather control what I can control, and I'd rather play the worst team possible round 1. You still have to beat the best teams to make the Super Bowl, sure, but like, I don't know. Maybe they see something in Minnesota they think they can exploit. I don't know. But I guess the one thing you argue, if you're from the Rams' perspective, is you have an older quarterback, you have a running back who's, I mean, what did he have? Like 300 carries this year, 316 carries for Kyle Williams. A lot of touches in the running back room. A receiver in Nakua who's taken, dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Kupp, who was dealing with some injuries this year, late in the year. Like, maybe you just needed these guys on the shelf a little bit to kind of regroup. And you just want to put your best foot forward in the playoffs. But even then, I still think I'd rather know who I'm playing round 1 and play the easier opponent.
Yeah, maybe they should have done I don't know, could they have dressed the Kua Cup in Stafford and oh, hey, this game's close at the end. Let's final drive. Let's put these guys in. Let's get this victory.
I don't know if that would work, but yeah, it's just interesting to see that play out that way. And still, it would have been hilarious if they honestly won, but Seattle got it done. Geno Smith played well. So we'll see. We'll see what the Rams. We'll see if it pays off for them getting that extra rest, though.
You're probably right. It's probably just I bet they had some guys dealing with injuries, and they said, let's just shut everything down. Let's give it a week. I do think it helps them to have essentially a bye week here, week 18. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I have no Seahawks thoughts. Do you?
I mean, it wasn't a bad season. I mean, I think the coach McDonald did pretty well year 1. They need a lot of help on defense. I think still that this defense was so up and down. I think they're going to add some pieces to this defense. I like Witherspoon. I like Leonard Williams. They're going to need a few more pieces. I think the tackles played well for the Seahawks, and I think the offense looks good, but it's still going to be a little bit to go.
Yeah. Let's go to a couple of fascinating games. Let's talk some balls here. Who the Commanders entered a week. If they get a victory, then no matter what, they get the 6th seed. You'd rather avoid the Eagles if you can. You'd rather play what ends up being Tampa Bay. It was a very bizarre situation. So the offense is just ice cold. They're not getting anything going for the 2nd straight time against the Cowboys. Cowboys are playing them tough. The coach, Dan Quinn, elects to pull Jaden Daniels from the game. He says, you know what? This isn't really going well anyway. Let's just put in our backup and avoid an injury. All of a sudden, Mariota plays pretty well. The Commanders end up coming back and winning the football game. So they get the 6th seed. If the Commanders can go on a run, you got to give Mariota some credit for this. Mariota, like I said, might be the top backup quarterback option here. Maybe you even, I don't know, could a team, I mean, the Falcons kind of already tried it, but could a team talk themselves into hoping he could be a Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold situation? But yeah, he played very well. Don't know what exactly to make of this situation, though.
Yeah, weird way to end the season, I think, for what was such a successful season. Daniels didn't play very well. I don't know what it is about this defense that makes him struggle so much. I mean, I guess I could speculate that the Cowboys have a lot of speed on their defensive line. Is that something that's just they're able to contain them a little bit better because they have that speed? I don't know. That would be my educated guess, but it's not that educated to be fair. But they got after him. They got 6 sacks in this game. They sacked him 4 times. And yeah, he struggled. So we'll see how that how he adjusts in the playoffs. He's come back from some, up and down performances throughout the year. He is the offensive rookie of the year. He is going to be very good, I think, in the playoffs still. But yeah, it was a weird way to end the season, but in the end, you got the job done. You got your 6th seed. And I'm still looking forward to seeing this team in the postseason.
Yeah. Well, I would say me as well, but no, I need them to be bad.
Yeah, tough. You're definitely out on the Commanders from now on. That's right.
at least for another week. Could be back in, depending on how things go. But yeah. Any more thoughts on this game? I mean, we saw Trey Lance. That was fun.
Yeah, he played football today.
Yeah.
He was fun.
Have we ever seen a 3rd overall pick? This is his 5th career start. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Not only that, like fifth career started on a second team, like it's just kind of over. Like it is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever seen something like that. The other team that was fighting for the sixth seed in the NFC was the Packers, who lost to the Chicago Bears. The Bears hit the game-winning field goal this time. The Bears were a blocked field goal away from going 0-6 in the division. Granted, tough division, but still. The story was Jordan Love got banged up in this game, so they ended up shutting him down. He was throwing on a sideline. I wonder how much of it was a precaution, safety precaution. Although Malik Willis was able to make some plays here in the second half as well. Ultimately, not enough to get the victory as the Chicago Bears win a meaningless game, but not really. This game matters to Bears and Bears fans. You know they like to beat the Packers if they can. But I mean, this was I think even with the Jordan Love injury, this was a bad loss for the Packers.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one again, like you said. They probably should have beat this team regardless. I mean, this team had not won a game in a while and looked like they quit. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was a weird performance and not the way you want to end the season if you're Green Bay. I mean, I don't think they played their best ball to end the year. They had some moments in that Minnesota game. They had some moments in that Detroit game. But, like, I don't know what to think of this team heading into the postseason because playing against the best teams, they haven't looked the best.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is, we talked about the blitz versus not blitz stuff with Jordan Love. The Packers do very well against teams that don't blitz this season. Eagles do not blitz a lot. So maybe, I don't know if it'll be enough, but there might be a little bit of matchup advantage there. We'll see what happens.
Another week one rematch. This
Yeah.
one is not in Brazil, at least, so that will be fun.
I was kind of hoping for the Vikings to win because then there would be 3 week 1 rematches because then the Rams and Lions would have also played each other.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Yeah, I think it all would have been fun. Caleb Williams was a block field goal away from sweeping the Packers his rookie season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's back, baby. He's gonna be the greatest quarterback in Bears history. Count on it.
So after one season, before the season, you said you would not trade Caleb Williams for Justin Herbert. Are you still on that train?
I might be wavering a little bit.
Yeah. Someone brings up the Bears got their first win since before the Hail Mary game. Well, I saw that there was a stat that came out that the Bears, this is the first time they led on the road with the exception of 25 seconds against Washington.
Oh. Not the best season, that's for sure.
No, but hey, ending on a bright note. Some other games that we can kind of, I think, plow through here. We have Texans Titans. I saw someone in the chat bring up that new rule: Texans can only play their backups against the Titans. I think that's fun.
Yeah, we can see Davis Mills' neck in action with a literally like face planted into the ground near the end zone. That was interesting. I didn't even see the whole play. I just saw his neck bent back this way, and I'm just like, how did he end up in this situation? But
Titans
anyway,
had a few, yeah, sorry. I was going to say the Titans had a few just like perfectly Titans plays.
Yeah,
some like a defensive touchdown in here. It was a rough go for the picking first overall. A good win, a good week if you're a Titans fan.
Yeah, I did see the play where Will Levis was doing like the money thing because he got someone his incentive and then ran like a jet sweep handoff on the next play, and it was an instant fumble return for a touchdown or something like that. So, what a way to end the Will Levis era. I will say that.
I saw a comment on one of my videos saying, like, do you think the Titans are going to go quarterback? Yeah, I think so.
They got to have a plan if it's not drafting a quarterback. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble. But hey, get the first overall pick. That helps. Let's move on. Let's we don't have to spend forever on some of these games. Browns Ravens. We saw Bailey Zappi here. We're going to see some Bailey Zappi. Ultimately, it did not go too well for Zappi. A fun name, but that's kind of all we got. Derrick Henry, monster day in this one. Lamar Jackson continues to have a very good season. Some would say an MVP season. And the Browns are the Browns. They will be picking second overall. And of course, the Michael Pierce interception. He dropped back in coverage. It wasn't like he just hit him. No, he was going for it. I also love the just taking a knee, like not even trying to run it back.
Yeah. He saw the length and decided, no, I'm good. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even Lamar's best day, but it was enough. I'll be interested to see how Zay Flowers progresses throughout the week because they're going to need him next game.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Hopefully he's healthy. It didn't look too bad, but we'll see. Good win for the Ravens. They continue to look good on their best days. I'm looking forward to that team in the playoffs, see what they can do, see if they can prove everyone wrong. The funniest part of this game, though, was Bailey Zappi struggled out of the gate. They go to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and he takes 2 series, and they get like negative yards, and then they immediately just go back to Bailey Zappi, like, okay, we're good. The funny thing is like he's not really that athletic. Like he's a running quarterback who like just gets caught every time he tries to run. Like I don't know. I feel bad harping on the guy, but I looked it up because I kept saying like I think this is the worst quarterback I've seen with multiple starts. He ends up with his career with 1 touchdown and 10 interceptions. So I think I'm justified saying he's worse than Tim Boyle and Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kyle, I'm kind of buying into this Ravens team a little bit in terms of like if they can get past the Steelers, then they have the Bills. They crushed the Bills this season, and then you get the Chiefs, who that was a very competitive game. Like, I mean, we kind of sort of forgot about the Ravens when they lost a few games they should have won, but like I don't know, like they're definitely a real threat here.
They're a threat. I don't deny it. Like they can absolutely win the Super Bowl. The best version of the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl. Yeah. But the Chiefs are the boogeymen for the conference, man. Like it's not going to be easy to go in there and win at this point. So, we can say like the path is laid out for them perfectly to get to that AFC Championship game, get to that point, whatever. They still have to win the games, and they haven't been able to do that in the playoffs in recent memory.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I still think they're third behind the Chiefs and Bills, but don't count them out. Chargers, Raiders. For a second, looked like we were going to get a game here, but ultimately we didn't.
No. Good win for the Chargers. I mean, another one where it's like capped off a good season. Justin Herbert really had a terrific year, honestly. I'm going to talk about him in a second, I think. I'm sure you will too. And then just whatever it was, Quentin Johnson just wants to play this team all season. He's hoping to play the Raiders in the playoffs, honestly.
Well, I was looking at Quentin Johnston's, he had 186 yards in this game. I was looking at his like numbers versus man and versus zone because I'm getting ready for the playoff previews that I'm going to do this week. And like his numbers against zone, he's like a really like good receiver against zone, and he's just like not even a factor against man. Like he does not win against man ever, but he's just like a really good zone. I've never seen someone like him before.
Yeah. But it's one of those things again though where I'm like, you know what? At the very least, he's competitive now.
He's a player.
This doesn't look like a complete disaster. This isn't Kadarius Toney. He can at least play in the NFL. There's something to do with that. This would be another awesome T. Higgins team, honestly. Like if T. Higgins does end up leaving Cincinnati, like if you're gonna say what's the most competitive and interesting spot for T. Higgins, this would probably be it, right? Because they just really need a number 1 guy. I like Ladd McConkey. I like a little bit of the development from Quentin Johnson. They really need that top end guy.
Yeah, I think that would, and I think he said like T. Higgins said he wanted to play for like a contender. I think he said that in terms of he wants to play for the Bengals and is willing to take less money to play for the Bengals, but it could mean a team like this as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Raiders, I'll give them credit as well. They don't have much talent here. Like they're not a talented team. They clearly did not throw in the towel this season. They lost a lot of games, but they were definitely showing a lot of fight down the stretch.
I actually think they played pretty well down the stretch of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think, like you said, they didn't quit. I think they had some good performances. This was probably their worst performance of the last 3 or 4 weeks. And even then, I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. A guy like Aiden O'Connell, I look at him and is like, this guy can be a backup quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he is a backup next season for this team. He's not perfect, but he makes some plays. So this team's going in with the 6th pick, and they're going to hope to get an impact guy or potentially move up for a quarterback.
Yeah. 3 games left. Again, not a ton to talk about here. The Giants, Giants lose to the Eagles. Giants now are picking 3rd, so that's notable. Terry Bradshaw saying that what's wrong with Drew Lock? I think he got his answer this week.
Yeah, I wonder if he watched this game. This was not great. Tanner McKee looked good.
Yeah, he's been a nice find there. I don't know, maybe he's the backup.
Yeah,
I mean, he
I
definitely is
would.
now because Pickett's hurt, but
Yeah.
maybe even if Pickett is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at this point. He's made good plays. So, what a weird season. What a weird Giant season. You think Daboll's gone? Probably.
I think probably, yeah, I would think so. The results are the results. The worst, my take at the time ended up being exactly true. Got to give credit to my good takes. I have a lot of bad ones. The Giants making the playoffs that one year was the worst thing that ever happened to them. Like it completely derailed everything.
Derailed everything. The Daniel Jones contract instead of just doing the franchise tag, that was another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of mistakes after that playoff appearance, that's for sure. But hey, Brian Daboll, if you want to be offensive coordinator, feel free to come back to New England. We'll be okay with that.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Maybe head coach.
Well, so the rumor is Vrabel is the head coach and Daboll would be an OC or Josh McDaniels, but I don't know. Are we really going to run back the New England thing again? But I don't know. I wouldn't be that opposed to it. I know Daboll can coach offense and quarterbacks.
Yeah. Do you think that Bill Belichick would accidentally text Brian Flores again?
I'm sure that would go well.
Yeah, I don't know. 2 games left, Kyle. What are your Jaguars Colts takes?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one either. Let's see. What does the box score say? Looks like Mac Jones did okay, and Joe Flacco did okay, and Jonathan Taylor had 177 yards. He's a good player.
They just spammed him to end the season. It's like, let's get your numbers up here. Did he have an incentive to hit? I'm assuming that's probably what it is.
If he did, Brian hit it. He had 1,400 yards this year.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr., good season, I guess. Very good season, honestly, rookie. Outside of that, these two teams feel icky. I'm over this.
Yeah. All right. Niners Cardinals. What are your Niners Cardinals takes, Kyle?
I can't believe this game was as boring as it looked. Kyler Murray played well. There's that. Just in time for the postseason. Nope.
We got way too much of this on Red Zone. Red Zone kept cutting this game. I don't know why. I guess there's a lot of scoring, but
they have to show all the touchdowns. That's their thing. There's 6 touchdowns for the Cardinals.
I would have wanted to see what. So if there was 8 total touchdowns, I would want to see 8 plays from this game.
There's 9 total touchdowns.
9 total touchdowns. Okay, then 9 plays.
Yeah, that's probably the right answer.
Okay. Well, yeah, a disappointing year for these two teams. That is our detailed review of Niners Cardinals. Listen, you can only pay attention to so much stuff. Kyle, let's get into what everyone's here to talk about. The awards. I didn't know what to put in the banner, so I just wrote awards with an exclamation point. I think that's good, right?
Yeah, I think everyone gets it.
Yeah. Awards here.
We're doing our Golden Globe recap. Is that what it is?
Yes, exactly. That's what we're doing. No, we're doing the on the sideline awards here. We're gonna do the our all pros, and then we have some of the MVP, defensive player of the year, all that stuff. Should we do all pros first?
I feel like that gives away our MVP and all that.
Well, I was gonna say we can do all. Let's do all pros, but let's skip the quarterback.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm assuming that you went with quarterback for your MVP.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I had all
so let's skip. Gotcha. Let's skip the quarterback. Kyle, let's start with offense, and then we'll get into defense. Let's start with running back. I'm assuming we're both in lockstep here. I went with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I have Saquon Barkley as well. Yeah. I did do a second team just because of other guys, but no, this was a one-man show for this one. So yeah, it was pretty clear cut.
I will say, I have a flex position as well. I went Derrick Henry as my flex.
Same here. So yeah, we had the same team too. I wanted to make sure Derrick Henry did get included on this because he had a terrific season and deserved it.
Yeah. For receiver then, again, I'm interested in seeing if where we have deviations here. There's certain ones where we're definitely going to, but I went Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, the 2 LSU guys.
Yeah, absolutely no debate for me. Those are my 2 guys as well. Jamar Chase was the lock for me at this point. Justin Jefferson, terrific season, best receivers in football, those 2. Like I said, I did do a second team just because I wanted to write out some extra names to see who I would consider. I also considered Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, but just wasn't close to the top 2 guys.
Not Kayshon Boutte?
No, did not make it.
Okay. To round out the weapons section, where'd you go tight end?
Brock Bowers.
I was on the fence. I went Trey McBride. My thought is McBride's also just an elite level blocker. I think the receiving was pretty close, so I decided to give Trey McBride some love. He was great for Arizona.
Yeah, he was my second guy. I mean, you can go back and forth. I just think Brock Bowers is so impactful and he caught everything. I mean, they were both really, really good. So I'd be okay with either one.
Yeah. For offensive line, I'm sure people are very interested in who we have for offensive line. Should we just? How do you want? Should I just? I'll go down the list with my 5, and then you can say your 5.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so for left tackle, I went Jordan Mailata. Right tackle, I went Penei Sewell. Right guard, Chris Lindstrom. Left guard, I kind of cheated. I went Joe Thuney, who has played some left tackle this year, and I'm kind of factoring that in. I think that's pretty impressive. He was able to do that. And then Creed Humphrey. So I have 2 Chiefs on my offensive line. Kyle, where were you different? Where were you the same?
Yeah, so I have Rashawn Slater as my left tackle. I have Penei Sewell as my right tackle. I have who did I have here? Oh yeah, I had Joe Thuney at guard. I had Kevin Zeitler at guard, and I had Creed Humphrey at center.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we have I had Lindstrom, you had Zeitler, and then I had Mailata, you had Slater. But yeah, I mean, do we need to discuss? I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing for me is like Slater played a lot more snaps. I believe when I was looking at it, that was my only kind of thing over Mailata, but both were very, very good, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I think Mailata was unbelievable this year. I think he was. Yeah. I get it, but I mean he was impossible to get past.
Yeah, my second team included him and Zach Tom for the Packers, so those are my next 2 guys at tackles, and then Ragnow was another guy I considered for center.
Gotcha. Well, let's get on to defense then. Let's start with the defensive line. Let's do edge rushers. I think there's some intrigue here. I think there's 3 guys I considered. Who did you go for your picks?
Yeah, there was 3 real contenders I had. I ended up putting 4 down, like I said, but like I ended up considering between TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson. I took TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. I understand the Trey Hendrickson argument. I thought he was really good, but I ended up going with Watt and Garrett.
This is a bad take by you, Kyle. Disagree. Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt are my 2 picks. Trey Hendrickson was great this year. His numbers were incredible, and he with the defense around him. I mean, come on. What more is he supposed to do?
No, I mean he was fantastic. I don't want to fault him at all. I thought he had a fantastic season. And 17.5 sacks is nothing to scoff at, but it's not like Myles Garrett's defense around it was that helpful.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think it was a step up from what Hendrickson had.
Yeah, it's potential. I mean, it's potential. I think Garrett still makes more impact play to play, but Hendrickson made some really impactful splash plays, especially at the end of the season.
Kyle, for interior defensive lineman, I went with another Steelers player, Cameron Hayward, and then I decided to go with Leonard Williams for my other interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, he was one I considered. I considered Leonard Williams. I did have Cameron Hayward on the first team. I mean, just amazing what the season he had at his age. Mm-hmm. Terrific year, honestly. And then, Chris Jones is still the best interior edge rusher. So I have Cameron Hayward and Chris Jones.
Yeah, not unfair there. I decided, Leonard Williams had that pick 6. He had a couple other key plays like that, so I decided to give him some love there. Linebackers, I went Fred Warner and Zach Bond.
Same here. Yep, yeah. I had them. I do have 2 guys, but I didn't really consider them at the end of the day.
For slot corner, did you go Trent McDuffie as well?
Well, so he played 800 snaps on the outside. He played more wide from what I saw than slot. So I ended up having him outside because I have obviously Pat Surtain the second and Trent McDuffie on the outside.
Well, then who'd you have as a slot?
Devin Witherspoon.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I put him in the slot. I didn't realize he had played. I knew he had done a lot more outside, but I thought he still had a majority. So I screwed it up. I got to get a new slot corner in there.
Yeah. Witherspoon's there. I don't know who else you would consider, but yeah. McDuffie was amazing this year. He was definitely a lock on my list, no matter where he played.
I went Surtain and Humphrey for my 2 outside corners. And Marlon Humphrey was, I thought, really good this year for the Ravens, especially with again what he gets asked to do for Baltimore. They do not give him any help ever.
Yeah. No, I definitely thought about him too. He was on my second team list. I had him. I had Christian Gonzalez. Christian Benford was another one I considered, and then Garrett Williams was the other guy I considered for slot corner.
And then for safeties, where'd you go?
Let me pull my list back up. I had Kirby Joseph and Kyle Hamilton. Xavier McKinney is the other guy I considered, but those two felt like slam dunks to me.
Yeah, I was completely with you in the exact same thing. Of like McKinney had an All-Pro level season, but like he just wasn't as good as the other two.
Yeah, he's going to be a very good second teamer, overqualified second teamer, I think.
Yes. Sometimes it works out that way. Kyle, here's where we're really getting interesting. Did you do kicker and punter?
Oh heck yes, because a Patriot made my All-Pro team.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Bryce Behringer's the punter, Chris Boswell the kicker. Chris Boswell was money this season.
Well, I also went with a homer take here in special teams. Give me Chase McLaughlin for the kicker, because you know what, he did not miss a field goal under 50 yards. Chase McLaughlin didn't. His only two misses were 50 plus. One was a bad snap as well. Did not miss an extra point. He was second in the league in field goal percentage, but Cameron Dicker missed 3 extra points. McLaughlin didn't miss any extra points. Give me Chase McLaughlin. But yeah, I mean, Boswell had a lot more volume, so I get it. Also for punter, I decided to go give me Ryan Stonehouse for Tennessee Titans. Leads the NFL in average yards per punt. I know net average is Jack Fox, but he punts like once a game. He can't beat All-Pro. No, give me Ryan Stonehouse.
Ryan Stonehouse was actually the next guy I considered. Behringer had more punts. He had more punts inside the 20 though. And their average is pretty similar. So I ended up going with my guy too. So I was biased there.
Yeah, I think we both did a little bit of a homer. This is where we can be a homer, is on the special teams one.
Kicker and punter. Yeah, that's definitely fine.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle, let's get into the awards now. Let's go rookies first, and then we'll do coach of the year, and then offensive and defensive player of the year, and finish with MVPs. So I did 2 candidates, and then, or I guess 3 total candidates, one of them being the winner for each of these. So, for example, for defensive rookie of the year, Quinyon Mitchell, and I gave T'Vondre Sweat of the Tennessee Titans. I thought that he had a very interesting season, and he ended up having a decent amount of snaps for them. It's a really good interior defensive lineman. Wasn't a lot of amazing defensive rookies this year. There were some. So those are my 2 candidates. My winner, though, is everyone's winner, Jared Verse.
Yeah, that was a slam dunk to me. Jared Verse had a fantastic season. Very good edge rusher. Looked like he's going to be very good for years to come. And what was not a very strong defensive draft. I had Quinyon Mitchell and Edgerrin Cooper, who did not play as many snaps, but I thought was really impactful in those snaps, stepping up for the Green Bay defense. And then Jared Verse as the winner.
Yeah. For offensive rookie of the year, so this is interesting, but my 2 candidates, I did a homer pick for candidates, which is I gave Bucky Irving just the candidate spot here. Jaden Daniels, my other candidate, but Brock Bowers, I mean, you gave him your All-Pro. He might win All-Pro. Like Jaden Daniels was great. Brock Bowers was debatably the best at his position. So give me Brock Bowers.
Yeah. I ended up doing Brian Thomas Jr. and Jaden Daniels, with Brock Bowers as the winner too. I agree with you. I think he was fantastic. I think he was the best rookie this season. I think Jaden Daniels is going to win the award, and I don't blame him. I think he was amazing as well. But those were my best 3 rookies this season. And yeah, I think those are really good offensive players.
Yes. Someone in the chat said, who wins coach? Well, we're getting to it. We can get to it now because I think this is really interesting. I think there's a lot of ways you can go. Kyle, who did you have as your candidates, and who did you have winning?
All right. So I had, as my final candidates, I had so many names. I couldn't think of any. I ended up going with, I'm going to give you 3 candidates because I think all these guys deserve a shout. I have Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Kevin O'Connell as my 3 candidates. But in the end, this has been a Dan Campbell podcast for far too long for me not to give him the credit. Like I said, this is a multi-year Coach of the Year award for me because I don't think he's going to win it based off this year's performance. But at the same time, I think he was the most impactful coach over multiple years. And I think what he's done with this program, this franchise, matters. And yeah, so Dan Campbell gets my award.
I'm with you. I had Dan Campbell as well. I think the thing about Dan Campbell, I guess what's hard about the decision is like, part of why we give Dan Campbell the award is the staff, right? Because like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, we talked about how good those 2 guys have been this year, but like it's the best staff in football. This has been the best coach team in the league. If you want to say that, well, part of it is who he hired. Again, Ben Johnson had head coaching gigs he turned down because he wanted to stay with the Lions. That's culture. That's what Dan Campbell did. The 4th down decision making worked like every time. Like it won them games this year. Dan Campbell, I agree. My two candidates where I went Kevin O'Connell and Matt LaFleur, who I still think did a really good job with what he was dealt this year.
Yeah, no, LaFleur also did a really good job. Him and Dan Quinn were two guys I considered, but ultimately, I think those other guys did a really good job too.
Let's get into the big three awards: Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP. Kyle, who do you have as your candidates and your winner of Offensive Player of the Year?
Offensive Player of the Year. All right, so Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, those are the candidates. But my award winner, no doubt about it, is Saquon Barkley. Probably would have broken the record for rushing record this season if he had that last game. Amazing season overall, and I think he definitely deserves it.
Kyle, I also have a Philadelphia Eagle as my Offensive Player of the Year, Jordan Mailata. I don't care that he only played 800 snaps. This guy was impossible to beat. Offensive linemen never get any attention for this stuff. I don't care. He was great. Saquon and Jamar Chase were my other two candidates.
All right. I don't hate it. I'm fine with offensive linemen getting credit for their awards. He was amazing this season, so I can't hate it at all.
I think I try to do this as much as I can. I think I've given like Trent Williams like 8 Offensive Player of the Year awards.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
It would. Kyle, Defensive Player of the Year is one we're also going to disagree with. So I went with my two candidates being Pat Surtain and Kirby Joseph. My winner, I went Trey Hendrickson. I like kind of what we're talking about with the All-Pro. The way that he was able to be incredible in advanced stats, incredible in regular stats, leading the league in sacks by a good margin. And when you factor in like how quickly he had to get there with the coverage behind him to get a sack, I think it was incredible. I think he was the best defensive player in football this year.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
You hate it a little.
I mean, he wasn't a candidate for me, so obviously I can't like it all too much. But at the same time, like I think it was a admirable season for him, and like I said, I think he deserves all the flowers for what he did. I just think there was some top end players a little bit better.
Who were those top end players you thought were a little bit better?
All right, my candidates were Trent McDuffie, T.J. Watt, and ultimately the winner was Patrick Surtain II. Just, I think, the most impactful player on the defense. I think what this defense was for Denver was built a lot on he was going to take away an option, probably, a whole side of the field, dominate games. And this secondary was one of the best secondaries in football this season because of what he was able to do.
Yeah. He was number 2 on my list. I went back and forth with him and Trey Hendrickson. I agree. Surtain was awesome. And it's a little weird. TJ Watt's probably going to win it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem, like, TJ Watt probably won it like week 9, and that's the problem. Like, and don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but yeah, I don't know if he was the most impactful player on defense from the beginning to the end of the year.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the Josh Allen argument too. I mean, we'll see. What's your MVP?
My MVP, the two I think the 3 that were all in consideration, I think that we all have, unless you're going non-quarterbacks. The 3 quarterbacks we're talking about are Allen, Burrow, and Lamar. Those are the 3 that were at least a candidate. But yeah, I've made this pitch before. I think Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback in football this year. When you factor in how little he put the ball in harm's way and how much efficiency he got, like that just doesn't happen ever, and he was able to do it.
Yeah, I actually ranked this one 1 to 5, but I had Josh Allen 3, I had Joe Burrow 2, and yeah, I think Lamar Jackson probably played the best season of his career, and he's won 2 MVPs before. Like, I think he was the best quarterback this season. I think he was better than he was last season. And yeah, I mean, look, do I think Josh Allen should have won MVP last year? Am I okay at the end of the day if it balances out? But I don't think that's how awards should work. So I don't think Josh Allen was the most impactful player this season. I think Lamar Jackson was, and that's why he's my MVP.
Do you think that if Allen did win, because again, there's some revisionist history. We all, Dak Prescott was second in MVP voting last year. But if Josh Allen won MVP last year, do you think that Lamar wins it this year?
In a landslide. Yeah, I really do. We're starting to see that just pop up with all these awards. Like the NBA is doing it too. So it's definitely frustrating at times, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. It feels like now.
Yeah, I will say it is. The odds are close. Like it's Josh Allen's minus 250, Lamar's plus 185. So like it's usually like decided by this point. It still is possible that Lamar could pull off the upset. So obviously we both had Lamar as our all pro for quarterback as well.
Oh yeah, definitely him. Like I said, Joe Burrow is my second guy. But yeah, Lamar Jackson without a doubt. Also considered Justin Herbert and Jaden Daniels on my MVP ballot.
Gotcha. And I will say this too, like Josh Allen's been great this year, and I do think you can make an argument for him being like the Bills have had the most in terms of EPA per play, the most efficient offense in football this year. And I believe it. Yeah, I believe it's first, even ahead of the Lions. And obviously, he's such a part of that. I just think that part of that has been he's had some real turnover luck go his way. He's been kind of above average turnover worthy play rate this season, but nothing special. And Lamar's been the best in football at that. But Allen's been a little lucky with his. I think his turnovers themselves have been unlucky, but he's had a lot of plays that should have been turnovers that ended up not being it. So that ended up being my logic. But yeah, Allen's been awesome this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely nothing. I can't complain about Josh Allen. It sounds like we're hating on him. He's had a fantastic season. I mean, he's going to deserve a lot of flowers throughout his career. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's nitpicking when it comes to the MVP. That's the tough part. Like, it sounds like hating, but it's literally the best two players in football is what we're debating.
Yeah, although I think I might, Burrow. I think I might have Burrow at 2.
I would too. I actually did have Burrow at 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were all incredible. Kyle, that is our show. Let them know where we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, you can search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. If not, tweet it at me and I'll make it available there. Kyle, you had a great week for your picks. You're now just down 3 points. I mean, you're all of a sudden coming back.
We're back, baby. Just in time for the playoffs, peaking the right time of the season, like what we did this year, with no doubt.
And your super lock missed by half a point.
Ridiculous.
It was 4.5 and they won by 4. I mean, you would be leading if that flipped.
Yeah, that would have been nice. That's for sure.
Yeah, but we'll see. It should be a competitive final playoffs for us. Again, we will be back Thursday. Not doing our usual day on Wednesday. We're going to do Thursday this week to preview the games. That'll be 6 p.m. Eastern. We will preview the games. Oh, and then at the end of this the week, are we still going to do Sunday after the Buccaneers Commanders game, which isn't the end of the week, or did you want to wait till Monday?
Ooh, we can wait till Monday. That's probably the right move. Why would we? I don't know if we should leave one game like that, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. So we won't do our normal. Well, I'm trying to think because we could also just talk about the Monday game like how we have been doing it.
Yeah.
And that is legitimately what we do every week.
Yeah.
Okay. So stand on the lookout for that. We'll announce on Thursday what day we're doing the show, but be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. So sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. I like this comment at the end. Just Mike Evans. Yeah, I agree. Mike Evans.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Great year.
Yeah.
Great year.
Yes.
Hall of Famer. All that.
All right, Kyle. Again, thanks for doing it. Look at us. So it's 5 years now. 5 regular seasons. Incredible stuff.
We continue to. We're breaking our own records. We're putting together 1,000-yard seasons ourselves in podcast game.
Yes, exactly. Our own Iron Man streak. Again, thank you to everybody, especially if those of you who've been watching us for 5 years, we definitely appreciate you. But we appreciate all of you for watching. We'll be back on Thursday, and until then, have a good one.
Peace.